Okay.
Hello, my name is Don DuPay. My research paper was done on the Khmer Rouge occupation and the genocide of the Cambodian intelligentsia, which occurred from 1975 to 1979. I've always been interested in this part of Cambodian history because I recall so vividly when it happened and when Americans were first informed of the killings and the deaths of so many of the educated and elite. The news stories started out with murmurs about the killings, but there was never much proof until that came around in 1977, as I recall. I've always felt that this part of Cambodian history was very tragic and kind of astounding because of the loss of so many good people. The best and the brightest were murdered. In my research for the paper, I used most of the pertinent readings from the class, as well as the Dirk's text, to inform my perceptions about the Khmer militants and what happened. I also did a great deal of independent research as well, and discovered several timeline websites which offered little bits of information about the daily life of the farmer peasants who Pol Pot had at one time admired because of their simplicity and self-sufficiency. I learned that 1.5 and by some estimates 2 million of the intelligentsia were exterminated. I focused on the importance of Cambodian identity and how it has changed since the genocide. The detrimental aspects of the genocide had a tremendous impact on following Cambodians born to many survivors of the Khmer Rouge occupation. Because there was so much trauma experienced by the farmers, some of whom were able to hide their true identity, there were psychological after effects such as depression, apathy, and a lack of desire to do well. Since the genocide, Cambodians still struggle with a very high rate high school dropout. The high school dropout numbers were not as high before the genocide, but have become quite high since the genocide, and this is believed to be due to the trauma that the survivors experienced and the resulting depression they experienced. The Dirk's text and some of the readings also cover the dilemma of various social and economic struggles that Cambodians face. The most concerning social ill that Cambodia now faces is the sex trafficking that occurs there. The sex trade is always a negative dynamic, and it's not important which country it occurs in. Its machinations are timeless and always destructive to a woman's self-esteem and self-worth. Also covered in my paper are some ideas on suggested areas of study for future study. This would include researching in more detail the impact that the Khmer Rouge has had on the younger population of Cambodia, and would be interesting to find out more in detail how the genocide has impacted the younger populations. Cambodia has a relatively young population now, and some sources claim that 1/3 of the country's population cannot remember the Khmer Rouge genocide for the simple reason they weren't alive when it occurred. These young people rely on the stories and word of mouth of their relatives who survived or who learned of it through other family members. Doing a good, sound study of how it has impacted the education level, depression level, and overall prosperity level of the common urban and rural Cambodian should be very interesting. Such a study would be able to document the ways in which the Khmer Rouge occupation had a historical impact on the inhabitants of the country, both the survivors and their offspring.
Good job. Okay.